So, talking about Ongo, practice period time coming up. And Ongo roughly translates to peaceful dwelling. Um, Traditionally, it's 90 days. And that is based off of maybe some of you guys saw Diana's really awesome write up this week, but she talked a little bit about it. But basically, the origins of these practice periods go back to the ancient days of the Buddha and the early Indian Buddhists. They have monsoon season. So when the monsoons would come for roughly 3 months, they would just kind of take shelter and dedicate themselves to sitting and to following, practicing, investigating the Buddha way. Why don't I see my own intrinsic perfection and enlightenment? So, as we evolve and as we bring Buddhism into a modern context, we don't necessarily do 90 days at a time. So right now we're splitting those up into, this year, we're splitting it up into one 45-day section and then another 45-day section at the beginning of 2022. And that will make the full 90 days. Last year we did full 90 days in a row. Often if we don't have a head trainee, we'll just do 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 weeks. So yeah, and I just heard some other Zendo, a cousin or sister Zendo of ours had a head trainee and they did an Ongo and it was like a week or something like that. The guy's entire head trainee period was like a week or two. So, we're all looking at it. We're looking at what makes sense for our life and for our practice in this context. We don't have monsoons. We don't live in monasteries. So we're doing 45 days coming up. And yeah, so this Ongo is peaceful dwelling. And I know that a lot of us associate meditation with peacefulness, being quiet, getting rid of stress. But for any of us who have done Ongo practice or intensive practice, or even just a session, we know that it's not necessarily very peaceful. There's body pain, emotional pain comes up. You got to spend all day and eat your meals with these random people who you like or don't like. Doesn't matter. All it's made, this practice is geared towards pushing your buttons and triggering you, because those triggers, my buttons that get pushed, those are the things standing in the way of my equanimity, of seeing my intrinsic Buddhahood. So why the hell would we call it peaceful dwelling? Just imagine a bunch of like unshowered Indian men sheltering together in a cave for 90 days. Does that sound like peaceful dwelling? It sure doesn't to me. It sounds like drama. It sounds like fighting. It sounds like smelly. It sounds like sticky. It sounds like cramped. It sounds like people snoring when you're trying to sleep. And sitting for hours and hours a day. So on top of having to like deal with all these people, you have to like do this grueling practice. So why the hell would we call this peaceful dwelling? That's kind of what I want to look at today. And luckily, we're reading this book right now in our book club called The Deepest Peace. Talking about peace. And so I just have a few readings that I wanted to pull up today that kind of address this idea of peace, peaceful dwelling. What kind of peace are we hawking here at Sweetwater Zen Center? What kind of peace are we cultivating with our practice? Let's see what Zenju says, right? So this book, The Deepest Peace, hopefully you can see that. by Zenju Earthlyn Manuel. She's like a major rock star, famous person right now. She has a lot of books. Her writing is amazing. So she says this right at the beginning: I had made efforts at making peace, but making peace requires an idea and then action upon that idea. It's not the same peace I speak of here. The peace being expressed in these writings, meaning her book, The Deepest Peace, they don't come from the mind, the lips, or gentle actions. It doesn't come from legislation made by governments or peacemaking movements. It's a peace that appears without effort, like the desert filling up my eyes. It appears like snow, wind, or rain. Peace arrives on its own if I don't resist it. It's so hard to say anything because she just says everything in all of her sentences. It's really remarkable. But let's just kind of look at them. So, this idea of making peace, like just take a minute for a sec and think about all the ways that you try to make peace in your life. You try to make money so I can be at peace with my bills. I light candles. I drink wine. I put on certain kinds of music. I get a massage. All these things I do to try to make peace, to make myself okay, to make everything okay. And I have to say that included in that is meditation. A lot of us come to meditation because it's like a thing we're trying to do to make peace for myself. And, all of these things, all of these actions, all of these ideas of what peace means, all of these practices and circumstances that I try to put together to try to make peace, including legislation, including treaties to end war. They're great. They're necessary. They are part of our karma, and we need to cultivate them to regulate our nervous systems and act as a healthy being in the world so that we can show up for others and be of service. It's great. But it's different from this deepest peace that we're talking about. This peace, this peaceful dwelling of Ango. I think that kind of peace is different. So we're not condemning the peace that we make, but I think it's really important, and what I think Ango is pointing at is this deeper peace, this peace that appears without effort, a peace that arrives on its own if I don't resist it. And it's so hard to talk about this, right? As she says, it doesn't come from the mind or the lips. Can't talk about it. You can't conceive of it. It's not something I have any kind of idea of, this deepest peace. And this peace that comes without effort is such a tricky phrase, right? This is kind of the heart of what I wanted to talk about, because this effortless peace, giving up any kind of making or any kind of effort to have peace in my life, totally letting go of the idea of peace. That's that deepest peace, the peaceless peace, I guess you could say. And we see this kind of phrase all over the place in Zen, right? Dogen talks about have no intention on becoming a Buddha. And then he talks forever about how to sit long hours of zazen. So this effortless effort, right? This insane effort that we have to make to get just a little glimpse of this effortless peace. That, I think, is the spirit of Ango. and the spirit of Zen practice, really, right? It doesn't have to be Ongo. Not everybody can do Ongo, right? It takes a very specific set of circumstances to be able to dedicate 5 hours a day for 90 days. So, how about in your life? What kind of effort am I putting in at work, with my family? Uh, how do I let go of my ideas of peace in my family, the ideas of peace in my relationship, the ideas of peace on the bus? Am I putting in that effort to let go of that peace? Kind of reminds me of, kind of anything that we strive for, whether it's peace or financial success or any kind of achievement. It's amazing how, at least in my life, I'll like strive and strive and try and do everything I can, and it just won't work out. And then as soon as I say, you know what, forget about it, I'm done, I'm over it, I'm going to let go of that ambition. And as soon as I can do that authentically, really let go of that ambition, something happens, right? It's like the crush at high school, in high school, you write them letters, you write them notes, you wear your best clothes, you try to hit on them, you try to do something to get their attention. It never works. And the minute you say, all right, you know what, I'm over it, this isn't going to work, I'm going to go focus on someone else, what happens? They come and say hello, and they want to get to know you. And so I just wonder if that's also how this deepest peace, this peace that fills my eyes like the desert, this effortless peace, I wonder how relevant that is. Really letting go of peace, enlightenment, Buddha, right? We say, kill the Buddha. If you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. Let go of what you think Zen is, what I think peace is. And then it just kind of arises effortlessly. But like we were talking about, we need to make this crazy effort. And so I thought of this story that I wanted to share with y'all from the. It's not working. The record of transmitting the light, the Denko Roku, or the Shoyo Roku. I think it's the Shoyo Roku. This is the record of transmission all the way from the Buddha. So the Buddha saw that Kashyapa, one of his students, really had his mind, and he said, you have my mind. And then Kashyapa had a student and said, you have my mind, you share what we see. And it passes on just like that all the way. In this particular collection, it goes through Dogen, and then Dogen's first successor, Eijo, Koun Eijo. But I just wanted to share this one story about Tian Tongru Jing, who was actually Dogen's master. Dogen received transmission from Tian Tongru Jing when he went to China. And Tian Tongru Jing was just this, he was just known for being over the top, disciplined, and dedicated to Zazen. And so just listen to this passage. Since arousing the determination at the age of 18, he stayed at the monastery and never returned to his home. Not only that, but he never associated with his countrymen or went to the rooms of others in the monastery. He did not speak with those who sat near him. All he ever did was single-minded zazen. He vowed, I will sit so long that I will crush a diamond seat. As a result of doing zazen like this, sometimes the flesh on his buttocks split open, but he would not stop sitting. From the time he first aroused this determination up to the age of 64, there was not a single day or night when he did not do zazen like this. I don't know about y'all, but that is kind of inspiring for me, not only for zazen, but like anything. That determination and that resilience. I don't know that I've ever heard of anyone in our day and age literally cracking the flesh of their buttocks because they're sitting so long. Um, but there's definitely knee pain. There's definitely feeling anxious and squirmy. And yeah, there's stories of people having trouble with their sciatic nerve and having back problems and hemorrhoids and all spinal stuff. I mean, it definitely, that determination to want to see peace, this effortless peace above all else, takes this insane amount of effort. And that's what Ongo is for. And whether or not you're here in the yurt 5 hours a day, we're really going to encourage, we always encourage our Sangha during this time to try to bring that split buttocks flesh energy to your life. What does that look like? How can I incorporate that determination for my own vision, right? Tiantong's vision and his karma was to see the Buddha way and to penetrate Zazen as far as it would go. Maybe that's not the case for you, and that's great. That doesn't mean you're not actualizing the Buddha way. It just means that yours is different. And so just kind of relevant to this whole thing, the main case for each of these stories here in this book highlights the transmission story of each master in our lineage. And so it's a really great story with Tiantong. So basically, he went to his teacher, Shuido, and he said, Master, I would like to be the sanitation officer of the monastery, basically cleaning all the toilets and the bathrooms. And I guess it's kind of a important position. So he said, I would like to be the officer of sanitation. And Shuido, his teacher, said, okay, you can be officer, but answer me this. How can you cleanse something which has never been soiled? And Tiantong couldn't answer for over a year. And Shuido kept asking him, can you answer yet? Can you answer yet? And he couldn't. And so that's kind of when his determination started. That's when he started sitting super hard. How do I answer this question? How do you cleanse something which has never been soiled? How do I see the effortless peace? How do I get peace when it's been here all along? How do I make peace? How do I attain peace? How do I sit so long that I get in touch with this deepest peace when really it's absolutely effortless? How do I become a Buddha with making no intention to become a Buddha? These are all, to me, very clearly the same question. And so we have to make that effort to try and see that effortless peace. And then one more piece of text from the Secrets of the Blue Cliff Record, which we talk about a lot. There's a great koan in there that we may have talked about recently, so I'm sorry if this is a little redundant, but it's just so good and so relevant. So here is the koan. Every day at lunchtime, Master Kingyu used to personally do a dance with the rice pail in front of the monastic hall, laughing and saying, "Come eat, little bodhisattvas." Secho remarked, even so, Kingyu was not being good-hearted. A monk asked Choke, an ancient once said, "Come eat, little bodhisattvas." What does that mean? Choke said, "Sure seems like celebration on the occasion of a meal." We do not have enough time to do this koan justice. I'm sorry, I feel a little bit rushy here. But it's just so perfect, right? So here's this master, this teacher of the monastery, Kingyu, and every day he would come down with a pail of rice and do this dance and say, "Come eat, little bodhisattvas." So what are we talking about? Are we talking about rice and feeding people? Maybe. Are we talking about being of service in general? Being giving? uh, maybe. And maybe we're talking about this practice, Dharma, the deepest peace, sharing the deepest peace with people, being a bodhisattva. Um, and I just, every day doing that, every day trying to wake myself and others up, trying to serve myself and serve others every day. Does that sound like a happy dance and laugh? Things in a group and has to do this little song and dance every single day, it is not a celebration. It is not happy. It is not good hearted, so to speak, all the time, right? I stub my toe and I have tummy problems and I break up with my girlfriend. I still got to go up there and do my song and dance and laugh and sing. That's my karma. That's my duty. So when Secho remarks, and Secho, by the way, is a 10th century master who uh, allegedly compiled the Blue Cliff Record. So he kind of put all these stories together and added his little commentary. So he says King Yu is not being good-hearted. I think that just means that same point, that this inspiration, this sharing of the Dharma, this engagement in bodhisattva work, it's not always going to be great. It's not always going to be peaceful. It's not always going to feel awesome. Um, really dedicating myself to my friends or my family or my work, whatever is coming up in your life, it's not always going to be great. Um, but doing that work, showing up with that rice pail, showing up for your family, showing up for your friends, and doing whatever kind of dance and song you got to do, we can find this deepest peace. And it may not look like what you think peace looks like, but showing up is the magic. Um, so a monk asked Choke, so now we're kind of like later, kind of skipping around here, doing a little Terrence Malick koan action here. Um, so later on, a monk hears about this story of this ancient sage who used to do this dance. And so he asks his teacher, Choke, there's this story of this old master who used to always do this dance and sing and encourage people to come fill themselves with their own intrinsic Buddha nature. He put all this effort in. Like, what does that mean? Why did he do that? What does it mean to share the Dharma? What does it mean to wake people up? What does it mean to do the right kind of dance to inspire folks, including myself? And Choke says, sure seems like celebration on the occasion of a meal. And even the commentary after this says, that's a dangerous word there, celebration. That's a very subtle word, celebration. Very difficult to understand, that word celebration. This meal that we're celebrating is right here all the time. That meal that Choke is referencing, I think, is the deepest peace that Enju is talking about. Every single moment, this meal is here. Every single moment, Kingyu is dancing and laughing and asking me to enjoy the meal that's happening. Come eat. Come be, digest, and fully embrace my life right now. Make that effort. And this effortless celebration, this peaceless celebration will naturally arise. Uh, and like we said, we can't really talk about it. And if none of this makes any sense, anything that I just said, then I think I'm doing an okay job. Um, because you can't talk about it. You can't talk about it. You got to show up and dance and laugh and have faith, right? I think overall, I was thinking about these three texts that I'm talking about and trying to like find just some kind of overall something to hold on to, some kind of thing to take away. Um, and one thing that comes up is just faith, right? This practice does take a lot of faith. Our life takes a lot of faith. That if I show up and I make the effort, um, that this kind of peaceless peace, this non-celebration celebration, this thinking non-thinking, all of these ways we try to put it, um, will manifest, and I will know it for myself. Because reading it in a book, keeping it in mind as a mantra, that's only going to go so far. Those are fine, but it's only going to go so far. But experiencing that deepest peace, the peaceless peace, without any idea of what that possibly could be, that's my goal. And I hope everybody here, finds some way to seek it themselves in their own way, relevant to their own life.